Nick, the master, my man, Mile, be at basketball tonight, bro. Period, point blank. But shout out to the exec, my man Duke. I appreciate the assist on the basketball. Chef with the Rock League. 59th and Catherine. You know, we doing a couple little things. Moving around, trying to help our people however we can help them. I was just talking to somebody about getting 5 people to do the same exact thing for like 90 days with each other. It's not something that doesn't happen. It happens, but it's like that's what my quest is right now, to have groups. Like, all right, we gonna put this house together. All right, we gonna go till this land. All right, we gonna run this business. All right, we gonna sell these cars, and get like 5 people, and y'all just do the same exact thing for 90 days and see what you build. It'll be something crazy, really, really amazing. Like, so that's like one of my motivations right now. More than 5 people, to be honest. Like, shit, if I can get 50 people, 100 people. And really, when it comes to us, I just want us to be working towards a goal that says we want to be able to walk up to each other and smile all the time. I know you can't be happy all day, every day, but I want to get back to where we can speak to each other and just smile. Like when we see each other, and it's like everybody. Like when I come in the joint, I ain't sizing the brother up. He ain't sizing me up. It's like, damn, what's up, boy? You know what I'm saying? Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that it was like that to some degree? That the tension that we live with of thinking that everybody is going to hurt everybody and every response to everything is hurting each other, it hasn't always been like that. I'm telling you, it was time when we used to meet each other in spaces and everybody, we kind of strangers. Like we know each other, but we don't know each other. You know what I'm saying? And we would meet with love, with happiness. For real, like, oh, it's so good to meet you. You know what I'm saying? So good to see you. Then I do think, was it because some of the time I do think, like, was it because it took a little bit more distance to get to people and you were meeting a lot of people for the first time? Can you imagine that? Like, seriously meeting people for the first time. Oh, that really does happen. We just meet people with too much angst and antisocial behavior and paranoia and tension. Like we do it too much. That has become our culture. That people are not like that everywhere. I like to keep reminding Philadelphians of that. Philadelphia is a unique place when it comes to the type of tension that we move around with. You see it in how we drive our cars, how our faces look, how we walk. How animated we are. It's a lot of aggression in the way that we talk regularly to each other. And it's not like, again, I keep saying it's not like that everywhere, but a lot of places have been turned to think that there always has to be tension amongst people, and then we create happiness, we create excitement or comfortability with a person over time. It doesn't have to work like that all the time. Like when I first meet you, I'm meeting you with some level of paranoia of you going to do something to me. That has been like put in us because of how we've had to live. When you talk about disinvestment in community, and what does that do when you like choke the life out of a community financially, economically? And with social media and, different maladies that make people not want to come outside for whatever reason, that's squeezing the life out of folks socially. How are we going to interact with each other? We still exist all over the phone and get stuff delivered back and forth. Like folks just sitting in their house, and they got movies about this. I think the name of the joint is Idiocracy, I think it was called. I think that's the name of the movie. And it's to the point where everybody, I'm hoping I'm not mixing the movie up, but it's a joint. It's like a comedy, I guess, where it's like everybody is just sitting in their fucking love seat where everything hooked up to them, and that's how they live in their life. That's how they living their life. They just sitting there hooked up. They go to the bathroom. They order everything they want. They watch TV all day. I'm gonna have to go back and look at that joke because it's been a minute. But that's what it is, and that's what this thing can turn into with this thing right here, this phone. Like you could just be stuck on this joint somewhere, just stuck on it. So it's a lot of different reasons. Oh, fumble. Everything's going down. All right, we're back. But it's a lot of reasons why those things come about. But I just why does it have to be in the negative, so to speak? Why when I see my brother, see my sister see another sister, why does it have to be from the negative? And then we grow to even just being cordial to each other. Sometimes that shit is like, how do we even get to being cordial? And for me, it'd be like, how the fuck do this take this amount of concentration to try to be nice to somebody? To try to be cordial to somebody? Why the fuck how do we get to this point where it take that much work? Like you really gotta go, and some of this, like a lot of it is coming from real trauma. But it's like, God damn, it done became the culture to meet people in an adversarial state majority of the time. And it's frowned upon to come in and be like, no, these my people. Yo, what's up with y'all? Where you know them from? I don't know. I just met them. But why does it have to be negative? Why do I not have to like them? Why do I have to look for a reason not to like them? Why do I have to expect that they're going to do something to me because I'm being open and friendly and, jocular? You know what I'm saying? Like, why? Why can't I be jovial? Why can't I do that? Why can't I come into space and just be happy with people? Especially people that look like me. Why can't I operate like that? What is wrong with that? I'm trying to figure that part out. I'm checking the phone because, sometimes our guests, they be looking for the spot. But it's just something that I think about a lot. I was in a men's group last night. Shout out to Black Men Build. We'll definitely bring some of those brothers on, organizers, guys that come to the circle. It was the first time, it was hosted at Eddie's House, 5901 Market. And it was a good joint. The brother said something. He was like, listen, man. He said, in my day-to-day, I don't look to harm anybody. Like, I don't want to. He was like, I don't want to. He said, unless it's me, protecting myself like a true self-defense situation, for the most part, I don't want to be fighting, punching, stabbing. I don't want to do that. And I was like, bro, for real, who do? And not saying it in response to him like that wasn't, because I totally, felt what he was saying, because it's like, why can't it just be a thing where you move around like, I ain't got to worry about being hurt? Because there's so many people thinking about being hurt that they're moving in a way to try to protect themselves from something that's not there, and then people wind up getting hurt, and then it's going on. You know what I'm saying? And I seen upstate where like being slimy and being shady because of circumstance, because we've come out of poverty and we come out of all of these broken situations, and is where you will almost do anything in order for you to be able to survive on a lot of different levels. You started championing that, like, this is how we gotta be. And the nigga that's the most shiesty is you know what I mean? You know how he get down? And it's like, no. But the acceptance of that it came from, from us being tortured, from oppression. Always go back to it. Yeah, I know. You want to talk? Yeah, because it's still, listen, I'm still seeing babies dealing with colorism issues. Like, little girls are still treating other little girls funny because of the way they look, and it's based on their hair and their skin color. And they both black. So for a person to tell me, why do you always, cause we need to understand where these things come from. Cause they're still going on. Little girls are still being picked on because they're light skinned. Young ladies are still being called unattractive because they're dark skinned. Like, it's a real thing. It's still going on. So you got to keep talking about it. You know what I'm saying? You got to keep talking. You got to keep allowing people to know how these orientations came to be. How did they come to be? How did you get to that point? How can 2 9-year-olds not like each other because one has a certain hair texture and the other one has a certain, hue? And this is like history repeating itself, and they 9, they 8. Where they getting them messages from? There's something wrong with her light skin or her long hair. Or her dark skin and her kinky hair. Where are they getting those messages that something is wrong and that they so different when they both young black women? Young black girls, babies, black babies, African babies. So, like, if we not talking about, apparently we not talking about it. And apparently if it is being talked about, it's not being talked about in the right way. If we are seeing these things on Instagram and people are getting all of this information from social media, because I don't disagree that the information is out there, but hasn't the information always been out there? To be honest, it has. How did you have to go about getting it? What did you have to do in order for it to be a thing, for it to be information? So we have a resource there to provide information, but how is it being used? Who's instructing on its use? What is the directions, the instructions that are being given for it to be able to be used? Who's monitoring it? Yeah, the information is everywhere, but how is it being disseminated? How? In what way? Are we making everything like a caricature and a joke? Nobody's going to take that serious. And they're going to still take in whatever the imagery is. Are we putting it on serious news? Are people using it to push their agendas, but they're not really trying to solve it? So again, how are people taking that in? You talking about race on the news? Okay, but from what standpoint? From the magical Negro standpoint? From the benevolent white person standpoint? Like, how are we talking about race? So, like, when you see these things, and we was having a conversation last night, like, racism is a thing that was created. Ain't no doubt about it. Capitalism is a strategy for capitalists, for planters, for the oligarchy, whatever you want to call the ruling class. It was something that was created. So how do we deal with this thing when you got people really believing that it's a real thing? Like, because it is. You do have to deal with it. I deal with it every day. Like, in real time, watching the results of it, watching what it look like in real time, watching how it affects how I think. Affects my psyche. Like, what do I have to tell myself that I shouldn't have to tell myself in order to be able to navigate racism? So I know people looking at me a certain way because I'm a dark-skinned man and I'm a big man. But I have to make sure that I don't treat them a certain type of way, even though I know they're treating me a certain type of way based on what they've been taught about race. And they black people, African folks. Not even talking about dealing with white folks and all of the things that come with that. The shit, black people, because this makes me laugh. Because we all have done it to some extent, and I fucking hate it. White people. Ain't no white people in, you gotta whisper it. We're white people. Or when black people be in conversations and they always want to say, I ain't racist. Shut up. No black person is racist. And whatever you about to say that's racial, racist, whatever you think it is, it come from the fact that you were being oppressed. That's why it's even a thing. But it'd be funny because it'd be like, a motherfucker did his job that well that black people are whispering, the white people. We gotta respond to them even when they not around. And then we had a conversation of, see, I don't want to keep talking about race. And I know, bro, I know, me neither. I don't want to keep talking about it either. But it doesn't disappear just because you don't talk about it. It doesn't go away. And now we living in delusional land. And again, it goes back to those 9-year-old girls who are in the process of hating each other and competing with each other and influencing the women around them and the women who come from them in that same nasty, disgusting thing that they doing to each other at that age and don't even know it. So that's why. Because I could take you, I could show you, and they're not unique. That's the other problem. It ain't just this group of little girls that are already in competition with each other, who already think that their feelings mean more than anything else on the planet, and anything can happen if my feelings are hurt. And they worse with each other than they are with the men. And it comes from what? Just niggas, y'all ain't do what y'all was supposed to fucking do. That's what it came from. Y'all left us. Y'all liars. Y'all bums. Y'all deadbeats. Nah, that's not where it really came from. Sorry. I know it looks like that. But nah. And it's the same thing. And it's this is the crazy part about that. About that survival instinct that's going on in that moment. The crazy thing is it has 100% validity to it. We have failed. We have run, and we haven't stopped running yet neither. Start telling them, stand up, bro. All I need you to do is stop running from this shit and stand the fuck up. Because it's a funny fucking thing. That shit be funny. People tell you running when you're not. And the niggas that's really running, they just be with them. Running with them. You don't even know. You inspire. You still telling nigga to run from the plantation. You still telling them that. Moms, girlfriends, sisters, you know. Niggas is telling each other it's okay to run. Like, get away. And it's like, damn. Like, no, no, we just got to strategize on this one time. Ain't nobody go nowhere. That's a crazy thing. You could run in a lot of ways. The guest is at the door. Can you open the door for her, please? Thank you. We could tell each other to run. You can run with drugs. You can run with being ultra violent. You can run by going to jail. You can run by chasing all the women. You know what I'm saying? You can run by just not wanting to work, being a bum, not wanting to be a man in every sense of the word. It's a lot of ways to run, man. And we just need to stop running. And running was a strategy at one time. Our women wanted us to run. Moms, wives, grandmoms, surrogates. You know? They wanted us to run because they was like, we can't watch them keep killing strong men. Somehow, some way, this strong man will make it back. Or he'll make something new somewhere else. And that wasn't a failed strategy. But we got to stop running, yo. Stop running from your responsibilities. Okay. It's going down in the rain. See, people love me. They love this show. They come on. People come from out of town. I got to tell y'all about what goes on. And I really, really, truly always appreciate it. Now, I've been told that these headphones are not, queen friendly. Some, what they got going on, it's like, no, it's messing my hair up. I don't want it to mess my hair up. It's not good for me. So you can sit right here. You can sit right close to me right here. Because we need to make sure that we get all this content about what's going on with you. We need to know. So here go the headphones. I don't know. My fault. I'm sorry. Let's see if they are they queen friendly. Sometimes it's a yay, sometimes it's a nay. Okay. You good? All right. So we're going to turn this around. Because I need to make sure they know who you are and what you're saying. So the first thing I'm going to do, because we don't introduce anybody on this show. And this is a PSA. I can go through the little spill since you came on. So this is PSA, Philly Service Announcement. Takeover Tuesday, Takeover Love, Support, Grace, Social Activism, Resources, and Art. Not entertainment, but art. And you think I did that because I know you're an artist, but I didn't. That's the tagline of my show. Art. So, shout out to the Queen, Nick, Raw Cannon, the exact mile. You know, we do this at 4 now. Okay. We changed the time for you. I'm just playing.
Oh my gosh.
Nah, I'm just messing with you. It makes more sense with the things that we have going on in the community to do the show from 4 to 5 instead of 5 to 6. That thing that we have going on is Chef with the Rock Basketball League every Tuesday, Thursday, 6 to 8. You know, it's growing. We are providing a safe space for our young men and women because y'all can come out, try out for the team. Until we get enough young women, you might have to run with the boys. And then we can start a female team. So, but can you please allow everybody to know who you are?
Sure. So thanks so much for having me. Mm-hmm. My name is Cass Green. I am a community organizer. I'm a mom of 2 wonderful daughters, mm-hmm. but I have, I say, a village of a lot of children, right? I'm a mentor. Mm-hmm. I am an artist. You mentioned that. But I'm also just somebody that cares about our community, mm-hmm. who is committed to making sure we have change and that we have access and that we have power, mm-hmm. In various places. So, you know, I do that in my community. I do that in my workplaces. Mm-hmm. I do that through creativity. And currently I'm doing that by running for a state house seat, mm-hmm. in Philadelphia's 10th district, which is West Philly and parts of Logan Square and Center City.
Now, this is a funny thing because I want to know, when I ask that question, like, who are you? I want all of the professional stuff, the website, the brick and mortar, the social media, all of that stuff. But I ask that question because I'm big on identity. Mm-hmm. So I always like people to get a little deeper, like, I'm the daughter of, I'm originally from this part of the city. Really? Oh, okay. I want to know a little bit about, you know about identity. You know how important that is for our people. So absolutely. Give me a little bit of that. Like, you know, are you Caribbean? Like this, I want to know that type of stuff.
Okay, cool. So I'm a Black woman in America. That's what I am. I'm a Black woman in America. Mm. So I'm originally from Newark, New Jersey. Okay. Which is Brick City. Okay. So shout out to Brick City, right? And so that's where I come from. You know, I grew up there. I went to school there. I kind of like hung out there. Spent a lot of time just learning myself, figuring out who I was in terms of identity. Mm-hmm. That's a really good question, right? And so, you know, after a while, you know, I figured out that Newark probably wasn't the best place for me to grow and evolve, right? Because I did experience a lot of trauma there. In my house and outside of my house. And I had my first daughter, my oldest daughter. And so thinking about what kind of environment I wanted her to grow up in and what kind of possibilities I wanted her to have, I came to Philly. And I already knew Philadelphia because my mom and her family was from Sherman Hill, and a lot of them lived in West Philly. Interestingly enough, in the 10th district, in Mantua and Powton Village and all in that area anyway. So I spent a lot of my summers, my holidays here. My mom was an asthmatic, so she stayed in the hospital a lot. So during the time she was in the hospital, I would come to Philly, stay with my aunties and my uncles here. And so coming here wasn't like going to a place where I didn't know any people. Right. I already had connections and roots in Philadelphia.
Nah, that's dope. I do want to ask this question because I don't hear a lot of that anymore. When I was young, every summer we went to South Carolina. Like we went to Allendale, South Carolina. That's where my paternal and maternal grandparents is from. And it was like, this was mandatory to go here at least for a month, maybe 3 weeks, nothing less than 3 weeks. And then we started loving going down there. So I appreciate that part of it. Like, cause I don't hear that no more. I don't hear people say I spent summers and holidays in this place with some of my family. Like, I don't hear people even like about family reunions. I don't hear about them a lot no more. And that's what, when you said that, that's what made me think about that. Like, all right, I lived in Jersey, but I had family in Philly, and I know that family. I went to see that family, you know. So when you moved how old were you when you moved? When you decided to say, okay, boom, Philly is where I'm going to be.
I was like 23, 24. Okay. I did have, baby. Yeah, I got like diverted. Excuse me. Yeah, so I came to Philly. So I got you want stories? Because I got stories. All right. So basically, I came to Philly for this better life, right? And while I was in Philly, I filled out an application to get a job at Amtrak. Because in my mind, I was told, because I was like, I think too, because I was an artist. So kind of like my dad and them would say, oh, you grow up, you want to get a good job. You either got to go in the military, you got to work in the post office, or you got to work for the government. Those were good jobs, right?
Right.
Which I kind of like bucked against the system. But when I got to Philly, I applied for this job at Amtrak and filled out an application during that time. And my cousin is in Atlanta, so I don't know if I have to worry about her hearing this.
Right.
But she wanted to leave her man and drive to Atlanta.
Right.
She asked me and my daughter to drive with her, help her drive to Atlanta to leave her man. And so we got to Atlanta. I got to Atlanta. I was like, oh my gosh, like you could get a really good job here. It wasn't paying a lot of money, but the way people lived in Atlanta was so different than Newark, right? They was living in like beautiful places and stuff. They was like working part-time. I was like, whoa, this is really nice. So I got a job in Atlanta. About 2 months in, my cousin decided to go back to her man in Newark. And I was like, no, I'm not rolling with you no more like this. I'm going to stay in Atlanta. And so I stayed down there again with my cousins and them who had moved down to Atlanta from Newark. And it was like a lot of them, like 8 kids.
Okay.
She was the only ones left in Newark. And so she went back to her man in Newark. I stayed in Atlanta, had my little job. I had my community, my village. They was helping me take care of my daughter. And then about 18 months in, Amtrak called and said, you want to come in for an interview for this job in Philly. And so in my mind, I was like, going to come back to Philly, apply, get this job with Amtrak. Once I got the job with Amtrak, I would be able to transfer back to Atlanta. But what happened was when I got back to Philly, did the interview. I don't know if anybody ever had this experience. Took the test, did everything I was supposed to do, and they put a hiring freeze on, which was no job.
Right.
And I was already, again, in Philly for like maybe about 6 months or something. And fortunately enough, I went to, it was called Manpower Temporary Services. I was here, I needed to work, and I went to Manpower. And the first job they sent me on was University of Penn. And I was supposed to be there for 9 months as a temp. Man. And I wound up staying there 27 years.
Now, the reason I think that these identity questions and these stories that you tell are so important because, people talk a lot about lived experience now. Like lived experience, like this new thing. And it's always like, I ain't gonna say a negative connotation to it, but it's usually people thinking about returning citizens, people thinking about somebody that was on drugs, that was homeless. But you have lived experience about, I had to go here. I thought this was going to happen. Then I went here. I thought this was going to happen. Something else happened. Then I went and looked for a job. So somewhere else. And then, I'm 3 cities in there right at this point, at 22, at 23, at 24, and I think those lived experiences are important to what you're doing. What you already been doing is like, okay, I understand what it takes. I understand a lot of those things that it takes to be, and this is the biggest thing, the village part. You didn't leave that out. Like, yeah, I went and did these things and made these decisions, but in these places, I had people who loved on me, were around me. So reinventing that is more lived experience that I need to help folks understand why we got to reinvent it, why community is so important. You know what I'm saying? So I ask those identity questions because we all know how important identity is, especially for African folk, for Black folk. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, what you trying to embark on, what you are embarking on, people need to know that. They need to know that, I'm not somebody who's removed from the situation coming in trying to tell you what to do. Because that's an idea people have a lot about politics. Yeah. Like y'all people, y'all look like us and all that now, yeah. But you're removed from what we got going on and you trying to tell me what to do. Right. Yeah. And I think that lived experience, people can relate to it. So I definitely appreciate that. Not just from the personal standpoint, but from being a state rep soon for the 10th district. You know what I mean? Yeah. So what is your resource? My
resource is my faith.
Okay.
My resource is my faith. Because, when I think about, like, even talking to you about these, the cycle, right? These cycles that we go on. And it was like, a lot of times I didn't know exactly how the outcome was going to be. But through, I think, this idea of faith, no matter where I was, like, I'm not saying, like, when I was little, you know, I went to Catholic church, but then I definitely got removed from that space as an adolescent, as a teen, right? But I still knew that it was something I could believe in. And so this relationship and faith piece was consistent in my life, so that I could feel like I could take these risks, right? Because all of that was a risk. It's all a risk, right? Moving from state to state, taking my baby, but still believing that, you know, I could take these chances. And when I fell, there was something that would catch me, right? Because I'd already experienced that, because I had fallen a lot already. So that was my source. That continues to be my source. Even in what I'm doing now, it's like to say that, you know, I can be caught and it's other people that can catch me when we talk about the village. And so, you know, those are my life principles. I carried them out, like, with my daughters. You know, I have 2 daughters that I birthed, but like I said, I have a lot of community children, and just being that other and passing stuff along, right? You can't keep those things that we carry that keeps us and carries us through to ourselves. We have to spread them out.
Exactly.
And so I look at that, like, even when I got the job at Penn, I never went to school for accounting. My first job was as an accounting clerk, but it was people even there at that particular time, right? At Penn, as a higher educational institution, those people took time to teach me what accounts payable was, what accounting was, so that then I could take that resource they gave me, and I could use that to multiply and go to the next place, and the next place, and the next place. So a lot of the way I live my life is people pour into me, and then I pour it out into other people, and then what happens is I make room, and I do that in spirituality and in my everyday existence. So then it's room for somebody else to pour more into me.
So when you did Mill, I'll make sure I'm saying it correct. Mill Creek Community Partners. Partnership. So what was the impetus for that? Like, what was the need you thought needed to be served, or what? Like, why would you? Because, you know, that's not something somebody just wake up. We don't just wake up and be like, all right, I'm gonna start this partnership in the community. So why did you do that?
I mean, I was working at Penn, and actually by that time, you know, I had went to like 3 or 4 different departments, but at Penn, my dream job was to actually work. I was like, Dad, you know, if I could work in a place where I could have benefits, take care of my children, and I could be around art, that would be my dream job. So I worked it was Institute of Contemporary Art, or Penn Museum. And I finally got my dream job, which is at Institute of Contemporary Art. And so I was working there as their business and building administrator. So that was a dope job. Like, I was meeting all these Black artists, just like I was doing the money and the business, but I was around art. Right. So I was totally happy. And then this woman I met came to the job. She was a temp. And I wasn't kind of doing church right then. I was doing God, but I wasn't really doing church people. I ain't gonna lie.
You was doing God.
But I wasn't really.
You was doing God, but you wasn't really doing church people. Church people.
Yeah.
I get that. Like that. I get that. I understand that.
I was there with things, and this woman came to my job, and she invited me to this church on a Friday night. I was like, yo, I never heard of no church open on no Friday night. And it was actually, it's so funny. It's at that building we're in now.
All right, I got you.
And it was this pastor there, and when I walked into the room, it was like little kids there. And these little kids was praying, and you know, he was telling these little kids, yo, you can have your own relationship with God, and you don't have to go through no preacher. You don't have to be perfect and good. I was like, oh my God, I wish I never had heard nothing like that. And it was being expressed to kids. And so I was like, maybe I could get down with something like this. And that pastor believed, he died 11 years ago. Curtis Wallington. And he, you know, I started hanging out with him. It was a non-denominational church. And the church was really about community, right? Taking the kids on trips, doing all kind of programs, feeding them and everything. And he was like, you know, we're going to go do door to door. I was like, I'm not doing no door to door. I'm not talking to no strange people. Right. I'm not doing none of that. And he asked me to help him start this nonprofit. So that's why I always say co-founded.
Right.
He asked me because he said that what he wanted to do was to make sure that nobody was left out and everybody had access to hope. And that he knew that some people wouldn't feel comfortable entering if they thought it was a church. So he wanted this nonprofit to start so that everybody would have access and feel like they could enter in and it was inclusive. And so that's how, he said, would you help me? And I said yes. Again, taking a risk because I was working full time.
Right.
And I found out that Penn Law School helped you get, and they still do, will help you get your 501c3 for free and help you build your board. It was at the Netta Center. And I went there to classes, workshops, and, that's how MCCB was birthed. It was about the resources, right? Had I not been where I was working, I would have never known that.
Right.
And, that was my story. That's how I got involved in community engagement, development, started talking to people, doing door-to-door. And that's a manifestation of not just that idea, but also having, I'm a big person about mentorship, whether, a lot of times people think mentors are older, but mentors could be a young person. I have mentors who are younger than me, but being able to take advice and have somebody you can trust that you can move things around in that's pouring into you, that's what happened to me. I had people, and particularly Reverend Curtis, just taught me about who I was because I had a lot of issues, right? I'm gonna be with you. I'm gonna be transparent. I had low self-esteem, right? I come from a household where there was domestic violence, right? So that power and the things that were inside of me, I hadn't uncovered them yet. And working with him in the community, and when you talk about being authentic and relevant, I feel like that's a part of maybe my character that people are drawn to because I've seen a lot of stuff.
Right.
I've been through a lot of stuff. I thank God that it may not be visible on me, but that's how I can respect my brothers, my sisters, my communities, way they operating through life and systems is because I've seen it, right? I know people, my brother died from AIDS. I've experienced these life things that, and that was the most important thing about this ministry was the character of it was no condemnation, no guilt, no shame. And no guilt, no shame. So, and you can enter in just as you are.
I want to know because this brother is here. This brother right here. I think you know this brother too.
I know him a little bit.
So first, what you are an artist. Tell us a little bit about your art. Like I want to hear those things. Politically, we're gonna get into it a little bit politically, but it's more of a thing of I support you, I move with you, I support your campaign because I appreciate you, the woman. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like who you are as the woman is going to influence what your politics are, how hard you're going to fight for the things that you say are your the things you stand by when we talking about equitable housing. And equity is probably the most important thing that's starving our community because we don't have it. So you, the woman, is going to push what you feel about reentry, what you feel about, like I said, us having equity, what you feel about youth diversion. You know what I'm saying? All the different maladies that we have going on in our community. For me, I don't really look at those policies. I'm looking at you and saying, all right, if she's in this space and this is what they talking about, how is she going to respond? Whether she was a politician, a preacher, an artist, a mom, how are you going to respond?
So you want me to talk about?
No. I was just saying it because I gotta get to this boy too right here.
Okay.
Just messing with you, but I want to know. Tell people about your art. Like, what do you say you're an artist? Do you sing? Are you, what do you do?
So, my dream was to be like a really famous fashion designer.
Okay.
I was supposed to be Mahogany. Or I was supposed to
know about that.
Mahogany or Georgia O'Keeffe, who is my favorite artist, right? Okay. So I was, in my mind, I was going to be this famous artist. And so I do a lot of different disciplines. I paint. I've made clothes. I'm a designer. I went to school. I went to FIT for textile design. So I'm a master printer. And then, I, have started up art program back in 2005, and it's called Fine Art Through Our Eyes. And so that's an art program that, again, it was centered around making sure, you know, our community, our children, and our families had access to art and culture and community, right? Because that's what I'm all about. Like, when I think about outreach and engagement, it's not always about somebody coming to us or you. It's about you taking it out to the people, to the streets, right? Or wherever it is. And so I started Fine Art Through Our Eyes in this raggedy building called Mill Creek Art and Cultural Center. And, you know, for me, what was important was the curriculum is really built around introducing our community to artists of color. Right. That's the premise of it. Because I know that, like, maybe kids' first interaction with art is at, you know, places where they see mostly European art. But I wanted our kids to understand what it meant to see artists who were Black, brown, and from the diaspora. And also that they saw, that's what I learned working at ICA about contemporary art. You didn't necessarily have to be this fine artist that everything looked like the image. You could be creative and it's just expression. And so that's what I started Fine Art Through Our Eyes. We've been doing it. We do it everywhere. We have something called the Art Buzz. So we have a portable art classroom that goes around. So now my art, I might not spend as much time. Oh, and I also was an entrepreneur and had to hustle with my kids. So I did like craft fairs, made dolls. I make dolls. I do it all, right? But the most important thing for me was being able to bring art and creativity. My favorite person is the person who says, I'm not an artist. And I give them a piece of paper and maybe a marker, and something incredible happens with that space. And so, you know, I that's my art for me now. And also that I tell people a lot that, you know, and people could take it like they want it, but I approach community development the same way from an artistic lens, is that I'm taking a landscape, I'm taking some materials, I'm taking some things, I'm figuring out how they can come together, I'm moving them around. I may decide not to use them. Some things I use, but it's having these resources available, and I can figure out what we can create collectively with these materials that we use, whether it's, you know, a grant application, whether it's access to food, whatever it is. How are we creating our neighborhood to be the vision and the tapestry we want it to be?
It's dope for me because everything that I've asked you about and you told me about while I was out on the campaign, people have said that. Like, I have a man ran into me, he was like, she helped me start my art program. And there was somebody else who was like, she was in the church, right? And I was like, at that point, I didn't know that. I didn't know about the church part. And then I asked you about it. You was like, yeah, I was in this little church down the street right here. I was like, yo, so I've heard people in the 10th district say the things that you're saying. You know, and that's another thing that's beautiful for me being around, because I just love to engage and be around our people and get to see what's going on in real time. So hearing people actually say what you're, you know, telling me right now was like that. Okay, yeah, she is out here, and these people are not props. She did not pay them. You know what I'm saying? So we have a brother right here. A African brother, a Black brother, a strong brother, you know, a brother who is a dope artist. You know, I met him not knowing what the relation was and everything, and we could probably get into that. But this will not be the last time that I want to say that first for neither one of y'all. And I really appreciate both of y'all coming, because for a little bit I kind of felt like I was hounding you because we just kept bumping into each other, and I'd be like, bro, I'm gonna definitely get you on the show. I definitely want to do this art show with you. So I'm like, and you was real gracious at all times, real enthusiastic about it too. But it was like, damn, am I hounding the brother a little bit? I gotta let him come up to the show so he can see, like, I'm just not asking him nothing and just telling him this stuff because we out here and we acting like we building, but we ain't really building. You know what I'm saying? And I don't want to never feel like, again, I'm hounding you, you know what I mean? And it didn't feel like that. But you know how when you excited about a thing and you be like, are they as excited as I am? Do they understand, like, these things are very important to me? You know what I'm saying? Being out here doing the work that we doing and being able to follow through on some things, you know? So with that being said, can you allow folks to know who you are, what you do, a little bit about yourself?
Yes, my name is Jarue Jamaal. I'm a mixed media artist. I'm also Miss Cassandra Green's son-in-law. I met Miss Cass Green's daughter shortly afterwards, and shortly after I met her, we went on a field trip to New York, and we took the kids, and we went on the train, and it was cool. You know, I didn't expect to be around teenagers, you know, and not be annoyed, but they were pretty cool, and they were real too, you know. That was the first experience, and ever since then, you know, I've been helping out and learning, and also eventually joined the same church. So the core is still the same, and I can add in some extra stuff that she does, and you know, some of the influences from the beginning from Rev, you know, who was a wise and strange character, you know, like we don't even have to go that deep, but he was just very wise, you know, and beyond his years. And the no guilt, no shame, no condemnation, providing a platform of uplifting the individual so that they can speak their personal narrative. I always enjoyed that, which she brought to me, you know, through the vision and Jesus Christ and how he was, how I imagine he was from my research. You know what I'm saying?
I like that from your research.
Yeah. Just not focusing on yourself, focusing on the people, being on ground zero, you know, and searching for a problem and being able to try to solve that problem, you know. So, but as an artist, I like to just talk about these narratives.
Can we put some of the art up? It's a space right here. I think it's a chair right there. We can put some more and bring the chair over. I definitely want folks to be able to see.
Yeah, sure.
What's going on?
What you got?
Because I got a lot of comments when we went to your art show, and we put some of the art up, you know, because it was a really dope experience for me. And so we can put something up over here. There you go. Can you use that right there? That joint right there. Can we see? Now you might want to bring it back here a little bit, yeah. Because I want folks to see what's going on here. Because I'm a bit of an artsy-fartsy dude myself, too. You know what I'm saying? I like all the, you know, I don't necessarily have, you know, any art ability, you know, but I love to be around artists. You know, I love, it's always, you know, I hate to use these words, but it's always a vibe. Like, creativity is a vibe. You know what I mean? Being around people who, that's their full-time thing as artists is like amazing to me. Like I rather, and this is a guy we gonna have to have a whole nother show about, because I've been bringing him up a lot lately. Folks have been bringing him up a lot lately, and we need to hear some of the things that he has said. And I think that we need to hear some stuff from Baldwin. Go check on Baldwin. Go read about Baldwin. Go watch some documentaries. Watch his debates. You know what I'm saying? With some prominent African thinkers.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Study him.
And you will find out that this dude was a multi-genius.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, and other people really, really respected it. And he understand things about himself that, and I'm not going to let the cat out the bag to the conversation, because we're going to have, and I'm going to have some folks come and talk about it in a real deep way. Some red folks, not people that just coming up with some things. I seen a documentary on him, and that's what I think. Because, I've been seeing a lot of that lately. People will watch one documentary and have this whole idea. Bro, you got to really go and read some of these biographies, autobiographies.
For years.
Yes, you got to.
Years.
Yes, you got to go do it. So this man is an amazing, and it was a time when I wouldn't read him. It was a time when I first got introduced to him, I wouldn't read him. That's why I want to have a conversation. You know what I'm saying? So, and to a lot of what's going on with our folks right now, people talking about agendas and all of that old stuff. Reading, especially for our people.
Yeah,
but
he's got a lot of uplifting things.
I don't want to jump too far into it. Yes, he does. Why? And this might be a crazy question, but why does the art come out like this? Like, why do it? Like, I see like themes. You know, like when I came to the joint, I seen a lot of the jet stuff. and like, you know, the time frame stuff, you know what I mean? And why does it come out like that?
Well, for this particular series, first, I started out with comic books. I started out with drawing comic book characters, you know, so I always liked the arrangement of the covers of the comic books. And I always liked the arrangement of magazines, especially magazines that I could relate to. You know, I grew up seeing a lot of the white magazines, but then once I got into maybe like the 90s and saw like Source magazines and stuff like that, and then was able to find where to buy them and to see them and see the expression of the culture that I listened to, but that I only could experience. But most of the culture I could only experience through music, you know, and there was no television that could, you know, tell me about what's going on in New York and hip hop or the people, you know, regular stuff that I do.
Right.
What's going on in different places, you know, bridging that whole gap right there. So the magazines were definitely a favorite, especially Jet.
Right.
Especially Jet. So I wanted to honor them. And Jet was created a few years before the lynching of, the murder of Emmett Till. You know, so I wanted to tie that in as well.
Right. When I came to the art show, like instantly, like I was going through some things, you know, like we do sometime being Black folk in America. But it was because I understand so much about it, it was just heavy. Like when I came in, and I think I was like one of the first people that came in. Y'all was still setting up, but it was heavy. Like I was like, even talking to you, like I don't know if you noticed, but I was almost moved to tears, like, cause it was just like we just start busting it up, and it was very comfortable. And I was talking about, before y'all came in, I was talking about getting back to a time, cause it does exist, where when we met each other, it wasn't apprehension. It wasn't a certain level of paranoia or anxiety or tension, like they're gonna do something to me. You know what I'm saying? Because that's a tension we really do live with.
Yeah.
But it was a time when that wasn't the thing. Like when we met each other, the most that was a curiosity because I didn't know you. But it wasn't nothing that was fearful about that, like you were a threat or something. And we move like that a lot now. So when I came in there, and it was heavy to me because I understand it. And I'm like, damn, a lot of what I'm feeling about that not being a thing, the whole tension thing, comes from this. What this has put us through, you know what I mean? And I have a very clear understanding of it because I've read a lot of these things. I know the timepiece, the periods and stuff that you're talking about. So it was like when I came in there, it was just like, it was heavy.
Yeah.
You know, and then talking to you, not knowing you was the artist. That's the other part that was funny. I knew he had something. I knew you had something to do with what was going on, but I didn't know you was the artist. You feel what I'm saying? For later on in the day or later on in that night, it was like you transform into a whole nother thing going on. You know what I'm saying? You getting up there, you presenting, you talking about what's going on with your art, and I was like, damn, this is I felt like I went somewhere. You know what I mean? Like and I don't think I had expressed that to my folks neither, but when I came in by myself, and it really was heavy because I knew what I was looking at. And it was like, damn, this shit still fucking me up. And it's just me standing right here.
Right.
And this stuff that's on the wall, the realness of that is what's creating what I'm feeling right now walking in this room.
Right.
You feel me?
Yeah.
And then I'm talking to you and it's like, nah, bro, but this ain't it. That's just that. You don't know you saying it to me, but that's what it was. Like, bro, all right, we gonna move right on through this joint.
And
you know?
That's the thing. What we want to do is we don't want to ignore it, the wound. We want to evaluate this thing when we say kings and queens. We want to evaluate this thing when we claim that we are a race that has, provide the platform for other races and other civilizations. So if that's the strength that we have, then why can't we come back to that place of fruition? You know what I'm saying? Like, why can't we come back to that place of stability and power and self-confidence?
Because that's a big thing. The self-confidence part is a big thing with me walking up to people. What's up, bro? Like, what's going on with y'all joking with people in the street? Like, that's a confidence thing. You know what I mean? But it's a self-confidence of a we. Not me, Jarue, but of a we. Like, bro, you come from something really amazing and people been telling you that you didn't. And now you realize you really do.
The vulnerability is the piece of love that you give. Yeah, if I say, I love you, my brother, I don't know what that brother going to say because I don't know him like that. But I'm expressing this natural feeling that I'm feeling towards him because I'm clearing out my closet. You know, I'm coming to him humble and I'm loving him for him being an African-American human being, you know, and I identify with the struggles, I identify with the different things, even things that I'm foreign to in life about this person. I respect this person, you know. They might not understand that and they might see that as a threat, but I still have to give that piece of love out.
Right.
I still have to put that into reality and be vulnerable in that space.
Now,
if I don't, then who will?
This a dope thing about you saying human. Again, I was a part of a men's group, Black Men Build, and that was something that all the brothers kept going back to. Like it was like, all right, yeah, we black, we African, we might be Aquablanian, we can be African American, but we humans.
I think
we humans. Like all of the brothers kept, and they like that became a topic of the conversation. Like, bro, let's go back to we are human.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I think at this point of being an African American, there's all this extra baggage of being African American when we don't have to be African American. We are already.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So there's nothing, you know, but it's a lot of pressure. I still feel it myself. You know. So
this is what I need to know about. Why should this young lady be running for state rep? Why? Like, give me you. I know you can give me something concise because you've been around her long enough. Whereas, like, I know all the long stories, so I can give y'all something very concise. Why do you think that this young woman should be, you know, state rep of the 10th district?
I think
Cass Green. That's what y'all need to understand. Number 18, right?
Yeah.
One thing that I like is she's focused on the people, and there's no room for her to give herself glory, you know? So there's always focus on, okay, what's the next problem to help solve, you know? Yeah, and that gets in the way. Like, it's too many people trying to be showmen, you know what I mean? Trying to look good, trying to win the votes and all that, get a whole bunch of likes and everything, you know? And we need people that's going to roll up their sleeves and get to it, you know?
Right, get in the field.
Right, and not be, play favoritism. Like, we need equality for real.
Right.
You know? So I think she's going to bring those strong. And she already cares about the people. You know what I'm saying? Like, she moved from Ardmore, sold her house to move into the heart of West Philadelphia, you know what I mean? In Mill Creek. So, yeah, she definitely dedicated, you know? And that to have the outside, I think she has an outsider outlook as well. That's an advantage. I mean, she is a native to Philadelphia as long as she's been here, you know, but she also has the respect of a person coming into a space, you know. And
you need that right now. You need that right now because you got a thing going on with folks coming into the city.
That's the energy, and excuse me if I'm sounding a little racism, but that's the energy that the white man has overused so much, and now I find that even black folks use it. It's like, okay, you know, they getting away with it. Why can't we do it? You know what I'm saying? And we can't have that, man. You can't fight fire with fire. You know what I'm saying? You got to be better, and we are better. As a race, we are better. We are better. And I'm not saying better than anybody else. I mean, we're better than what we have.
Listen, we've been shown. Is this a funny thing? And I definitely want you to allow us to know one more time, like, why should we be voting? Why should we be picking that number 18? That's the lead lever, right? Why should we be doing that? But to your point, like, it's not nothing that we have to say. We've been through all of this, and we still are thriving. Even through all of these, the birth of it has shown the mantle of African folk from the continent, however you want to say it, Alkebulians. It has been shown, like, you put us through terror,
right?
And folks have risen above on every level. If you talk about consciously, intellectually, spiritually, materially, skill set wise, whatever you've seen the best of it from us through all of this struggle.
A blessed
so
race,
it's not something for me to say that I'm better than the history book says what I've done.
Right.
And before you get to it, I just want to say this one thing, because we leave these small little parts out when we talk about us and fighting and being a great people. Look at the statistics for our folk out of slavery, like with education, with our ownership, our skill sets that we built. Like, look at how we excelled in that time right after. You feel what I'm saying? So
it's incredible.
You allow us to know, Miss Cass Green, why are we pulling number 18?
I mean, I believe so. Can I just say something to you, Jarue? I know you and Jerry were talking about when you got into the show, right? And how it felt heavy in that space, but it still must have allowed you to feel safe in that space, right? Yeah. And so a part of why I believe I'm running too is I think that we also have this power to create our own safe space with each other. And you were open, like some of that is you. It's not just the people that you're interacting with, it's you, Jarue. Who, when I met you, we went for a lunch. I met you with somebody else, but it was something that you offered out when I met you that made me feel it was just as important for me to meet you as it was for you to meet me.
Thank you.
Right? And so I think that that's something that I believe why a part of pulling lever 18 is important to me and our community is for us to redefine and reimagine how we work and interact with each other in terms of safety, in terms of lifting each other up. And not pulling each other down, how we work and honor, our ancestors, right, who put this in so that we have this courage and this strength and this tenacity and perseverance. And it's just in us, in our DNA, to be able to survive whatever people throw at us. But what equality means for us is we say now, right, that we're not going to allow you to throw scraps at us anymore. Or our children, our communities, that we can work collectively together and create. When you were talking, all I kept thinking about, I'm having all these conversations around safety. Well, safety begins with you walking into a room not knowing that he's an artist and meeting him and feeling safe enough to feel that, vulnerable, that this work brought you to that space. And that was an environment that was set for you in that particular building, right? There was some energy there that made you feel that way, that you could do that there. And then later on, once you saw he was an artist, you felt a different way, but you also allowed for me to come into, I'd never been in this neighborhood. I was trying to figure out where I was going, but because I was coming here with you, I felt safe. And then sitting down talking to you, I felt safe enough to share with you. You asked me where I come from, my truth, right? So it's about I feel like a part of pulling lever 18 is inviting people to a space. I'm not a career politician, nor do I intend to be a career politician. I'm the community candidate because I'm about people's voices being heard, us finding collective ways to build power. I've been fortunate to have access to the boardroom, right? I have access to people that I never even imagined that they would feel safe allowing me into their spaces, but I'm here. Right? But I come here to represent, not lead, but to represent my people and my community. And because of the privilege that I've had and other people pouring into me and me being able to pour out, I'm intentional about the fact that my intention is to open up even more space for our people so that they can have places to do this work just as you're doing, just as Jerry do, other people that I know that the most amazing thing to me about working in community and community engagement is if people say, I always wanted to do something. I tell people this all the time, don't I? Don't tell me you have a dream. Don't tell me you always wanted to try something or do something. Because then, to me, And I'll tell you that. Don't say it if you don't mean it. Because if you mean it, I'm going to figure out how to hook you up or get the resources or the assets. You either going to be about it or you can't just talk about it. You got to be about it.
You got to, what you tell me yesterday? You got to get off the toilet. What did they say? You got to shit.
You got to shit or get off the pot.
Shit or get off the pot. So, and that's what got to go down.
What I want to do is be a part of, like, people say, I don't want to be involved in politics. I've been hurt. You can't trust nobody. And I probably have said those things myself before. But also, I know that that's a way, that's our commerce. Mm-hmm. Our vote is our commerce. Because if it wasn't, people wouldn't have died and people wouldn't have killed people to stop us from having
that stream of power.
Truth, right? So we got to get it so we can own it, and then we can open it up more so that we can bring all them talents and gifts and power that we have already.
That creativity.
We got to bring that to the table.
This is an artist running for politics. You can hear it. Because everything is a blank canvas. Like, this is an artist running. So we are a little over.
Some people dismiss it, but it's cool.
So we are a little bit over, but we're going to have Cass Green, lever 18. Make sure. April 23rd, y'all. April 23rd is the vote. That's a very important thing. It's not in May. April 23rd is the vote. This will be your state rep for the 10th district after April 3rd, or on April 3rd, April 23rd. My bad. So y'all let me say April 3rd.
23rd.
Y'all let me say April 3rd. It's April 23rd. April 23rd. That's when we are voting this election cycle.
You have to vote.
You have to vote. It's one of our tactics in this strategy we call liberation. So, this is PSA, Philly Service Announcement, Takeover Tuesday, Takeover Love, Support, Grace, Social Activism, Resources, and art. Y'all, we had some art in the building. I told y'all this is what we do. Yo, shout out to Nick, Mal. Come to the basketball, man. I got my trainer here. You know what I'm saying? He don't know he's going to be the trainer for the young boys. Shout out to Took. Appreciate the time, man. Jerry, Cass, The Village. This is The Village going on. The Village is running for state rep in the 10th district. That's what we doing. The Village.
Absolutely.
That's what we doing out here. We out. Appreciate y'all.
Thank you, Drew. You're so good. You are